Greetings. My name is Dr. Waddell Brooks Sr., your host, and this is Community Forum. Ladies and gentlemen, we have an outstanding guest. We have a person that you should know in the person of Mr. Charles Robertson, a retired, he's retired everything. So
Yeah.
we're gonna let him talk about that. He will tell us about your personal and professional background.
Well, I graduated from high school in Mississippi, Mr. Brooks.
Okay, what part of Mississippi?
Macon, Mississippi, Noxubee County.
Okay,
And out of high school, I left and moved to St. Louis.
Okay.
East St. Louis, Illinois, to be exact.
my hometown.
Yeah.
So,
And, during the mid-'60s, 1964, the war began to start in Vietnam. So after living in St. Louis, getting a fantabulous job, I got drafted in 1966.
okay,
And I was sent to Fort Leonard Wood, which is right outside of St. Louis.
yeah,
And took basic training there, 8 weeks, left there, went to Fort Polk, Louisiana for jungle training, whichever that might have been, yeah.
okay.
But after that, October 24th, I went to Vietnam. And I spent a year in the jungles over there.
So you went to Vietnam right after training,
Yeah.
because things were exciting and hot over there. They needed.
Well, this
troops
is what
over
they said. They said that take civilian clothing because you'll be able to mingle with the people.
Okay,
But that's what we were told. But so you take all your civilian clothing and you never see them for a year. They
okay.
put them in some warehouse area, and naturally it's 115 degrees over there every day. Mold, mildew, it ruin all your clothing. So that was a fallacy in itself.
Then you did not retire from the military then,
No,
right?
no.
Okay. It seemed like your experiences are like mine. I was drafted to and sent to Korea. Well, I drafted the 5th of January of '54. I was in Korea the 13th of July of '54. So I didn't have a pleasant taste of the military at all. So I served my 2 years, and I had no intentions of retiring. But tell us, growing up in the South, though, tell us about your experience.
Well, a lot of people have a mythical thought factor that everyone that was raised in the South lived on a farm. I never lived on a farm.
Okay.
I couldn't tell you about cows, chickens, and all those things. I never farmed. I don't know anything about picking cotton. A lot of people did, but I lived in the town.
Okay.
My home was right around the corner from the county courthouse in Mississippi. The spot's still there. So after the high school, I had 2 scholarships, turned them down. I had to get out of the South, basically because things were still the way they were during the Jim Crow era and things of this nature. And a lot of people could adapt, some didn't. I wouldn't, so it's best for me to leave.
But tell me this, though. Even now, you spend the winters in the South, and you spend the summers here in North.
Right. I don't like cold weather.
Okay.
Never did. Hot weather, I love it. I can always keep cool in the summer, but I can't keep warm in the winter. It's 15, 25 below zero. Here.
Great. So actually, you don't have a positive or negative opinion about the South.
I
Because
feel the same way about Illinois, the North. The system is not set up for you to be able to do exactly what you want. Sure, you have dreams about going to college, doing this and doing that, but
Okay.
everybody's not college material.
Okay.
I went to college, but I'm like Bill Gates. I didn't graduate.
Okay.
I didn't want to graduate. I figured I'd learn all I need to know to do what I wanted to do, and that was true. So that's the way it is.
Now, you have, tell us about the experience. You're a veteran now, but tell us about your Great Lakes experience. Now, your opinion about the Naval Hospital united with the Veterans Administration Hospital. I think the efforts of Congressman at that time, Mark Kirk.
Yeah.
Do you think that was a positive thing to do? I think this is the only one in the country, the first one anyway.
And it'll probably be the only one. Personally, as you were saying, I don't see where it's still a VA in a sense, but it's not a VA. The VA that I started going to 23 years ago, it had mostly civilians.
Okay.
Now the Navy moved their hospital over into the VA grounds, like you say, assisting with Mark Kirk. But everything looked good from the outside. Then they put a new addition on, about $90 million.
Okay.
It's built like a ship on the inside.
Yeah.
There aren't any windows. You know, people think on a ship, in the middle, there aren't any windows. If you got a bunk in the middle of a ship, there aren't any windows. It's only on the outside. So if you're in the middle, you can't see anything, and the hospital is built the same way. They got little slit windows, but on the inside, they got all these odd colors. You get paranoid when I do, because there aren't any windows, and the color scheme doesn't match with what you think.
But what was the mission in combining it?
Political. They changed the name. They changed the name to the James A. Lovell Medical Center. Why? I mean, what was wrong with the VA hospital? Downey. They keep changing the name. They put a fence up. One guy came there as a director. He put a fence up. Another guy came in as director, said he didn't want it to look like a sanitarium, so he took the fence down. The Navy comes in and put another fence up.
For those that may be new in the Lake County area, the hospital was called Downey Veterans Administration Hospital.
True.
Right? Which employed many local people.
Right.
And then I guess the name was changed to, it's my understanding that because of financial reasons, it was united with the Naval Hospital, because actually they were going to combine the VA hospital with other hospitals. They're going to close Downey.
I don't think so. I think that was a political move too. You know, why would they close it and then you just put $1 billion expanding Great Lakes? See what I'm saying?
Okay.
After 9/11, the government stepped in and says, well, we're going to restructure everything at Great Lakes. And that's what they did. But then they tear down the hospital at Great Lakes.
Okay.
And then they build an $80 million addition onto the VA. I didn't see that. That's why I said it had to be political.
Yeah, because they were losing patients at Downey, right?
So they say.
The hospital population was not growing.
But the hospital over on the Navy base side was losing people. Half of that hospital wasn't even occupied. See, it was built in, 60, 62?
Okay.
For the people coming back from Vietnam. They already had projected this was going to happen. So they built that hospital at the Naval Hospital they built on the Navy side. So after all this wriggling and wrangling, they decided that we'll add an $80 million addition onto the VA hospital. And then subsequently, they decided to change the name. Now, With that being said, what was wrong with the North Chicago VA now?
Well, what they mentioned that they were losing patients.
Where were they going?
The Milwaukee and Danville and the other VA.
Do they know how far Danville is from here to go to the VA? They had one at Hines in Chicago.
Yeah, Hines. Okay.
So if they were losing all these patients, why tear down that hospital over? That Navy hospital over there was basically for the Navy.
Yeah.
This one's for all military people, veterans, and dependents.
Okay.
So you got all these people working in a small area where you got 3 civilians and 1 sailor, or sometimes you just have 3 sailors sitting behind a desk. And they still screw up your appointments. I had an appointment last year. April, I had an appointment with my doctor. She said, I'll see you in July. In fact, July 26th. July 26th came around. I go out there, they says, you're not in the computer. But I had a card.
Okay.
I gave the lady the card. She said, it makes no difference. Someone changed your appointment. I haven't found out today who changed my appointment. I didn't change it, and the doctor didn't change it. So who has the power to go in the computer and say, we'll change his till October? From April to October, it takes you 6 months just to get a physical. These are the things that the president and other politicians have said, why should a veteran wait 6 months just to get a physical? I could have been dead.
Well, what happened? You have military and civilians receptionists,
Right.
Scheduling appointments,
Right.
right? So there's no connection there between the two?
Well, obviously somebody figured that he hadn't seen the doctor since April. So we figure he's not that serious, so we'll set him up to October. That's a 6-month spread. And I didn't change it, and the doctor told me personally. I raised a lot of cane out there about that. Who has the authority to change a patient's appointments? I still haven't gotten an answer, so my next shot would be patient's advocate to find out who has that authority. And it's a serious matter. They don't know whether I had cancer or what.
I wonder how prevalent that is.
If it happens to me, it happens to a lot of other people. I saw on TV recently where a guy had filed for an appointment and they told him it would be 6 months. Next guy come on and said, we're trying to stop that, so we'll have it every 90 days or whatever, but I'm waiting. I'm still waiting.
I noticed that you have your cap on a Purple Heart. You're a Vietnam veteran, and you did receive a Purple Heart, or?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Now, they knew you were a Purple Heart veteran.
Sure.
And you received that type of treatment.
Yeah. So if they do me like that, think about the older people. I'm not a young buck myself, but you know, it boggles the mind that they make these appointments and they don't keep up with them. You know, so the patient is wasting his time, and someone unknown goes in the computer and take out your scheduling. Now, with the Purple Heart, a lot of people don't understand. You can get a Medal of Honor for running into a building, saving a group of people from a fire.
Okay.
But the only way you can get a Purple Heart is you have to be wounded. Okay. And I was wounded March 12, 1967, along with a lot of other guys.
Now, that was early in your interest into the military, as soon as you were sent over, because it was heavily engaged.
Yeah.
When you went over. So you were a youngster.
Turned 21 in Vietnam, in the jungles. 21st birthday, no cake, no party, no girls, no nothing. Bad time, but it happens. And luckily I don't believe in luck. Fortunately, I was able to survive the wound. And on top of that, I wound up contracting malaria. I stayed in the hospital almost 2 months behind that. So, you know, people talk about mosquitoes. They haven't seen any mosquitoes. And that country stays green and warm year round. So, you know, you put on the mosquito repellent and stuff like that, but it didn't do any good. And you
They
take the
mentioned
pills.
about Agent Orange.
Agent Orange, I got all of that too.
That was.
Diabetes. I'm just like the other vets.
But Agent Orange is one that the government, the Department of Defense didn't recognize or
Well,
something. Or what happened?
You see, Mr. Brooks, Agent Orange, okay, let me try to explain it like this.
Okay.
They spray the trees, all the foliage,
Okay.
every day, every night. So when you come off patrol, where do you sleep? You sleep underneath the trees with all its chemicals on the leaves.
Okay.
So it's just like parking your car under a tree. In the morning, you got sap all over it.
Okay.
The same thing when you lie down to sleep at night there, the sap would drain off the trees onto you. You're the car.
Okay.
So after a period of time, your skin start acting up, and you know, you're in the jungle. You don't have the medical stuff back then you didn't as you do today. So we lived in the jungle, and I don't think I went to the doctor the whole while I was over there, other than being in the hospital with that malaria for almost 2 months. You don't go to the doctor. You just stay in the jungle every day. Every day. You sleep on the ground in your clothing, may get a bath once a month if you got water. People don't realize the severity of having water. Mm-hmm. If you don't got water, you got nothing. So we had to get the water that they sent us. Wasn't no bottled water, mind you.
Okay.
It was just water that you would put in a canteen, put 2 iodine tablets into a quart of water for 15 minutes, and supposedly it would purify the water, but it left a nasty taste. So the majority of the guys in my outfit, they'd write home to the moms and said, send all the pre-sweetened Kool-Aid you could find. And we got cases of pre-sweetened Kool-Aid. We put the pre-sweetened Kool-Aid inside the water. Of course, it didn't taste bad either, but you're thirsty. When you're thirsty, people don't realize if you're thirsty, you'll drink water from any source. Because your mind and your body won't tell you don't. You know you're thirsty. So a lot of guys wind up with hepatitis behind that, drinking filthy water.
Now, how long were you, of course, you got sent to Vietnam right away, but how long were you in Vietnam?
A year.
A whole year.
Other than the month and a half I was in the hospital. I was in the jungles every day. So a lot of people died, a lot of people get wounded. It was a sad situation. And to bring that to light, they knew that they were going to leave. They knew. We was just there biding time. A lot of people got killed because it was all political. This is the North, this is the South. The South isn't trying to get to the North. The North was trying to get to the South, and we were in the middle. After we left, the North took over. And it was quite obvious because we were doing the fighting. What, 58, 59,000 guys killed? So they say. But overall, it was just a waste of human life and money. Money. It just was a waste. I don't see nothing they accomplished over there. I really don't. And I feel sad about it because I lost a lot of friends. I was this close to a guy, he got both his legs blown off. I picked him up in my hands, so I live with this PTSD every day.
Okay, now, how has the Veterans Medical Center assisted you? I say Veterans Medical Center, but it's the Captain James A. Lovell Federal Health Care Center.
I still call it the VA. Name change doesn't do it.
How has that helped you? What's happened to
I
Charles Robertson?
I've been going to the VA now, Doc, I believe about 23, 24 years. And I met a doctor, John Baer, psychologist.
Okay.
And he was the guy that told me that I was suffering from PTSD and alcohol abuse. So
you hadn't been diagnosed until Dr.
23
John
years ago.
Baer.
Yeah. I went to the VA in 1968 when I got out of service. They said there was nothing wrong with me.
What?
Yeah. I had blisters all over my feet, the Agent Orange all over your skin, and they put me on a table and looked at my feet and said, oh, well, we'll put some foot powder, and that's what he did, right out there. So, with that being said, I said I'll never come back out here anymore because this is what I didn't expect to be treated like that. And who could you complain to? The war was still going on. These people didn't care, you know? So years later, I mean really years later, I went back out there again and I ran into this fabulous Dr. John Bear and the late Dr. Woods. She was a psychiatrist. And they both informed me at the same time that I was suffering from something really bad. And I said, well, I'm a very astute guy. I don't feel no different. They said, but you are. You've got PTSD. Well, I've seen it on paper. I've read about it. It didn't fit me. I had a job, family, but they said, you got all the symptoms. And believe you me, they were right. So, no booze for 20-something years. I don't even go to bars. I try to keep myself well informed mentally because of the fact that there's a lot of guys who went to drugs, alcohol,
Yeah.
suicide. I had some friends here lay down in front of a train years ago in Waukegan, killed himself. So, I tell a lot of the vets that I associate myself with that if you got a wife or a woman at home and she's been married to you for 40 years, she's got PTSD too. You gave it to her. Because she don't understand what you go through at night when you wake up with the nightmares and sweating and fighting and stuff. It's no intent. It's the PTSD.
Well, what is PTSD?
All depends. Some people say they don't have it. I did the same thing. I was in denial for years. It's bad things that you see, you do, and you become a part of it.
Okay.
My doctor informed me that most kids that come from abusive families have PTSD,
Okay.
but they don't know it.
So it's more than just from the military.
Right.
Okay, that's what I want to.
Firefighters, police officers, they all got it. They see a lot of bad things daily. Some days you don't see things as bad, then the next day you might see everything.
Okay.
So being in the military, if you were a cook, back at the rear, a supply or something like that, chances are very nil that you would see anybody die. But people say they was in the war for a whole year and they didn't see anyone die. I said, you weren't with me.
Okay.
See, they drop us in the jungle and that's where you stay. There ain't no turning the corner for the Holiday Inn and taking a shower before supper and stuff like that. Wherever you stop, that's where you sleep. You ain't got no mattress, you sleep on the ground in your clothing. People find that hard to believe. But the last couple of wars they've been in, these guys crying for bottled water,
Yeah.
ship me this, they go in, they work 8 hours in the jungle or in the sand or whatever they did over there, and then they come back and get in the bed and go to sleep. They want air conditioning. That's war. Got time for no air conditioning. You work all through the night, but that's the new war, I guess. They drop big bombs on you. They drop big bombs over there then. But PTSD is not a joke. And I hear the president said there's no such thing as PTSD. I ain't gonna get into that. He had a couple of guys on, says, well, no, they don't have PTSD.
Well, now, Dr. John Bear, I know him quite well because I recommended him, and he'll tell you, for Rotary Club, right? And he still talk about that. It's a great thing that happened to him. But he recognized that you had the symptoms of suffering from PTSD. How would he recognize it and others didn't initially?
Well, I think basically because most people are thinking you're lying,
Well, they say you're lying, but they don't know what it is.
Right. But see, Dr. Bear, after dealing with him for, like I say, for 24, 25 years,
Okay.
You tell him things about yourself that you wouldn't normally tell another person.
Okay.
Now, I'll discuss things with you because you're a veteran. I don't talk about the war if you're not a veteran.
Okay.
See, you don't have if you can't cook and all you ever did was wash, you don't know anything about cooking.
Okay.
I don't know anything about washing.
Okay.
So, but when you're there and you see these things up close and personal, like I was saying earlier about the guy that got both his legs blown off right here, and I picked him up in my hands, people find that hard to believe.
Yeah.
But I sleep with this, and that was 52 years ago. Every day. Every night I sleep with the same issues. That's PTSD for me. Now, a lot of other people, they said there's nothing wrong with them. I said, okay.
But it's, like you mentioned, PTSD, post-traumatic
Traumatic stress disorder. Yeah.
And unless you go through this, you never know what it means.
You never know. People say to me all the time, man, you look good, Charlie. But you can't say inside my head.
Yeah.
Sure, I put on a good appearance and stuff, but I can be alone by myself, Mr. Brooks, for 2 or 3 days. It doesn't bother me. Some people have to have people around them all the time. I don't, because the more people you got around, the more things happen. Well, in my experience, if you tell a person in your family and they never knew you had this and they aren't familiar with it, they'll just say, he's got something he picked up in the war.
Yeah.
And they want you to put it on the back shelf. But every time you try to put it on the back shelf, it pops up. It's not going to go anywhere. You have to, in your mind, you have to go around it if you want to live whatever you call a normal life. I don't know what normal life would be because I've been had this 52 years. So, no alcohol, I don't do drugs, but I still got it. And I've been trying, Mr. Brooks, for 52 years to get rid of it, and it's not leaving.
Well, it's something I was in Korea peacetime. I served, and by the way, thank you for your service.
Thank you. I appreciate that. For my friends that I lost. I appreciate it. I really do.
Right. And it's something like not starting from the whole training from the beginning, count cadence and this type of thing, and drilling all the way through from time you get up to time you go to bed, and I catch myself sometime even today now. I think it's this way, count cadence.
Right.
It's part of me though.
You probably could tell me your serial number too.
I'd actually. I could definitely. You're exactly right.
Yeah, I could tell you mine. And people say, how could you remember that from all those years? These are the things they teach you. And it's the same way with PTSD. They send you to these classes, and they teach you how to better get along with your family, your friends, your associates, and the people you work around. But people just don't understand it. And the only thing they need to do is sit down and talk to one of the veterans in their families.
Okay.
Don't try to hurt his feelings. His feelings already hurt.
Okay.
I got to live with this disease for the rest of my life.
Yeah.
It's not like your finger hurts and it will cut the tip off and it'll heal up.
A waving magic wand.
It don't work like that. It hasn't worked for me in 52 years. So, I've been trying. I don't want to be this way, but I don't know any other way to be. People say, well, you turned 21. Sure, I got out of the Army. I went back to school, but it was something different. I turned 21 over there with no cakes, parties. Here you have a big party. People come from everywhere to celebrate your birthday. In war, you don't even think about it. Say, hey, today's my birthday. Big deal.
Okay.
So you're stuck with it.
Wow.
Yeah.
So, how regular do you come to treatment sessions with Dr. Barron? Is that once a week or?
I used to see him 3 or 4 times a week.
3 or 4 times a week.
Yeah, but now.
And it's not an individual.
No, it's a
session, group
but,
session.
But also you can have individual time with him.
Okay.
They have group sessions, and they teach you things that you already know.
Yeah.
How to get along with your family, loved ones, and things of this nature. But every vet don't think there's anything wrong with them. A lot of them will not go toward the VA because of the lies the system told you when you went over there. He said, you're not going to be out in the jungles. You're going to be surrounding the cities. That was John Kennedy's thought factor. If you send them over there, what are they going to do? We're not getting engaged in a war. That's exactly, they killed Kennedy, we got into war.
Okay.
Yeah. And they knew we're going to send all this money, all these bombs, we're going to bomb North Vietnam back into oblivion. Didn't make no difference. Those people lived off many small things. Well, we lack luxury. You know, we don't go to bed at night without a supper.
Mm-hmm.
Over there, they give you a handful of rice for the North Vietnamese, and that's all they got for a meal. Yeah. And we had better stuff than them, but they were determined, and we shouldn't have been there in the first place. Like I said earlier, the South wanted to stay in the South. The North wanted to take over the South, and eventually they did. And we knew that they were going to. Anytime you fight a war, you fight here, you fight over there, you fight no.
In other words,
there was no line.
No front.
No front. No front. So you had a stationary party at the DMZ, was the Marines. They stayed there all the time. But, every time they fight, the North Vietnamese would move further south when they wanted to cease fire, and they never gave the land back. Every time Kissinger went to Paris, they would study pushing. They got pissed off at each other one day simply because the seating at the table wasn't right. So for 3 weeks, they argued and said, I'm not going to sit there until you move the chairs around. It was just money. Then you get all these people killed, maimed, and wounded, then you come home, now you don't want to do anything for them. That's what bothers me. You knew these people were in Vietnam. You knew what they had, the diseases, and now they make you go through a pile of paperwork that thick before they decide to give you your benefits. And they sent you there. You didn't volunteer. I didn't volunteer to go in the Army. I was going in the Air Force and got drafted. Mm-hmm. So now I'm home. I need my benefits. When I got drafted, they sent a letter to my home and said, greetings.
Yeah.
Your friends and neighbors have selected you to represent them in these United States Army. But when you get out, they don't give you a letter saying, go to your nearest VA and check on your benefits. They never did.
That's a good point to you raised there, and you may want to elaborate on it. What efforts are given by Veterans Administration or the government to tell the veterans about their benefits?
They don't tell you.
They don't tell you about PTSD.
If you don't find out on your own or through another veteran, they won't send you no mail to your address and says, this is what you need.
That as of this date?
Never. I never got a letter to say, come out here and check on your benefit. See, the government is slick. They'll give you anything, and then they'll pass a law that says, we don't have to tell you, you have to find out on your own. So if it's not word of mouth through that's why I love doing your shows with you. I get a chance to speak to the people out there to let them know that it isn't everything they think it is. Veterans are suffering. They're really suffering because the fact of the matter is you owe me, but you don't want to pay me. Abraham Lincoln said, take care of your veterans.
You go into service to give your life. I tell my wife this all the time. When you go in, it's terrible to say, you don't go in to want to come back.
No.
You go in.
Everybody don't come back.
To give your life for this country.
Yeah. And then when you come home, they won't call you or send you a letter or message to say, well, Mr. Robertson, come on down to your local VA and check on your benefits, or go to your local veteran office.
Yeah.
There's a veteran office in every state of the United States, and locally, they're always around the courthouse or in the courthouse.
Okay.
Now, they moved the veteran office from downtown Waukegan, where the hell out in Gurnee.
Okay.
How many veterans with non-transportation can get to Gurnee?
Oh boy.
Yeah. So they're not thinking in terms. One guy, Johnny Allen, I give my
John,
heart
I
to
remember
him.
John Allen.
Yeah, he was a wonderful person, and he tells you what you should do when you go to the VA.
I'm
That's
glad
his
you
job.
mentioned his name because I have a tape program, and I'm going to go through my boxes and find that tape and play that tape.
Yeah, he's a wonderful person. I saw him recently. I think it was a couple of years ago. His wife had him out at the VA, but he's long since been retired.
Yeah.
But you know, a lot of veterans don't know about their benefits, and they're so pissed at the government they don't want to know. They won't go out there and see. Well, they're not going to do anything for me. I said that's what I said for 27 years too. I didn't go and check, but it shouldn't be that way.
Mm-hmm.
When you fill out an application on a job, are you a veteran? Check the box. The government won't do that to you. And this is our government. This is our system. They don't tell veterans nothing.
Would it help to I guess you have the congressman check a box, senators and representatives, or even the president, you know, that they have military experience. I mean, so they would understand.
Most of the people they've got working in these offices now of the government, they had never been to war.
Yeah.
So if you come in there and tell them, I had malaria and I'm suffering from PTSD, well, fill out this form. Why? You got computers, send to St. Louis and get my damn records. It's just that simple.
Okay.
But they don't want to do their job, and then they'll send you letters, well, you must be working, we're going to cut your benefits. You didn't cut my benefits when I was out there in the jungle for a whole year. You know what I'm saying? But it's so hard for these people. They act as if though they're giving you money out of their pockets.
Yeah.
It don't work.
Amazing. So we can go to the point. How has the Veterans Administration assisted you? That's another long story.
I could tell you some good things about the VA administration, and I can tell you a lot of bad. Mostly it's bad. You know, you're an adult. You take the paperwork down there and it's filled out properly, and then they'll say someone will contact you. That could be 2 or 3 months.
Mm-hmm.
Jump on this issue immediately and get rid of me and then bring the next guy in. Because if you keep telling me, oh, we're working on it, we're working on it,
Yeah.
2 months pass, you know, and a lot of guys get pissed and they do serious things. And when a person storm an office and kill 3 or 4 people, I'm not saying to do that, there's something wrong with the system.
Mm-hmm.
You know, all I'm looking for is my benefits. I didn't come here to harm anybody. I didn't do anything like that. But they sit back behind the desk, and they're like they looking down on you, and you're 8 feet tall. How can you look down on an 8 feet tall man?
Mm-hmm.
You got to look up. I'm just doing my job. This is what they told me to do. Well, you're not doing your job. And a lot of doctors will tell you. They fight for veterans.
Mm-hmm. But
a lot of them will tell veterans also, you have to push harder. For what? You knew I was in the war. I'm only trying to get my benefits. Mm-hmm. That's all. I ain't come here to destroy nothing. Not the government.
So we would say that family would get more involved if they got more information about the program.
Right. You know, your son come home at night, he's drunk all the time, or he's high on drugs. You have to find out why, because eventually he's going to kill himself.
Okay.
You know, and you know your child. So ever since he came back, my mother said to me when I came home from the war, she says, baby, you've changed. In 1 year, she saw the difference in me.
Okay.
There wasn't no home cooking every morning. A knock on your bedroom door says time for breakfast. You didn't sleep that much. Some nights you're in a firefight for 6, 7 hours all night. Dead bodies everywhere. People don't see that up close. They saw what the people on television was showing. You understand what I'm saying? The cameraman worked with us a lot. But when the firefight starts, they get on a helicopter and leave. You're still there. You're not going to leave there until the fight is over with or you're dead, one of the two. So, it's a hard thing. It really is.
At the VA, there's short-term care and there's long-term care. And what I'm hearing from you is that PTSD is long-term. It's no short-term.
Once you start, you got to continue. I personally don't think there's a way to cure it. You're stuck with it. You push it on the back shelf in your brain, and then one day you decide that you want to come back out, and you can't do anything about it. Like a lot of my friends, they do drugs, and I said, one of these days, they said, we already know. One of these days will be my last.
Okay.
So this is what they want to do, and but a lot of them won't go to the VA. And then another thing, Mr. Brooks, I see guys standing out on the street corners with signs, help a veteran.
Yeah.
Why?
Okay.
Go down on Buckley and Green Bay, they got a place for you down there. It's a VA hospital. You're not going down there because there's something wrong with your paperwork. You understand what I'm saying? You're lying to the people who stop at the stoplight and put a couple of dollars out of the car and you thank you and all this. You don't go to the VA because there's something wrong with your paperwork. You didn't get an honorable discharge. You might have got an undesirable. You have to go and check on these things for yourself.
Yeah.
You can't send anybody else in your place to say, well, pick up this for me and let me. No. The system don't work like that. You have to go in person and tell them all the things they need to know about you.
Maybe I should have a program on the veterans representatives from the Veterans Assistance Commission.
Yeah. You should.
And maybe it should be soon as a follow-up with this program.
Sure. Now, I'm a veteran. I'm a veteran's veteran. I don't like to see people standing on the street corners begging and lying because I lost a lot of good friends over there at the time I was there, and I lost a lot of good friends after I came back. When they came back out of the service, they committed suicide. I'm not that route. I got too many people that care about me, and I care about myself. So I try to tell guys that when I give these conferences at the VA and speeches and things, well, you don't know what you're talking about. I said, if that's what you want to believe, I have no reason to sit here and lie. I've been going through this for 52 years, man, and I don't want to be like this.
So what you're saying is that even today, you have a problem believing that there's strong emphasis by the government on the PTS program, even today.
Yeah. They don't reach their arms out for veterans. They expect for you to come down there and put up with some people that you never met. You don't know these people. And you're trying to explain to them what the problems are. And then they aggravate the veteran, then he get pissed and storm out the door. I've seen that happen a lot too. Right down there at the VA. Wow. They get aggravated because you're asking me questions that you're not a doctor. You wouldn't even know the symptoms if I told you. And a lot of people do that. They try to put themselves in a position, well, I can tell you, you can't tell me nothing. Yeah. I'm honest about that. You've never been in a war. You've never even been in Boy Scout.
Okay.
But you can sit behind a desk and try to control my life with how much benefits I'm supposed to get.
Yeah.
And they will cut you off. They cut a lot of guys off. They want to cut me off for my benefits. They said I must be working. I haven't had a job in 23 years. I'm too old to work. What do I look like working? They wouldn't accept me no way. But this is the way the system is set up. You got a lot of veterans who sleep out on the bridges, homeless people, because someone has just told them, well, ain't nothing we can do for you. That's a lie. This man's a veteran. He put his life on the line, and now all of a sudden you're going to tell him there's nothing we can do for you? I don't see it, Dr. Brooks. I really don't. And people get angry about that, and some of them never go back to the VA. I know some of them like that.
So we're really talking about how a veteran can overcome their obstacles, issues, and plagues, and so forth. But it's not.
Well,
It's not easy.
what you see, the system put these obstacles in front of you. You've already been through obstacles.
Okay.
So why would they put more roadblocks in front? They're supposed to be there to help you, not deny you. And said, well, we don't have any findings. The guy told me one time, I said, well, I know where the records are in St. Louis.
Okay.
He said the building burned down. Now, all the deeds and records in the courthouse, if the building burned down, they got a steel vault. The vault don't burn.
Okay.
In banks. In banks. The vault don't burn when everything burn up in the bank. If it did, there wouldn't be no banks. What good is me putting my money in your bank and somebody rob it, I can't get my money? Same thing. So if you tell me there's nothing you can do for me, so that year I spent in them jungles was for naught. You put me over there. I didn't pay my fare over there. You said this is what the country wants you to do, and that's what I did. Now it's time for the country to take care of me. I'm unable to work. Had malaria, got shot, and they want to tell the fact that, well, I don't see anything wrong with them. You can't see because you're just looking at me for a few minutes. I stayed over there for a year in the jungle, sleeping in my clothes, and everybody else that was with me did too. It wasn't just me. We all lived through the same thing. Whole month, no shower. You become normal.
Can you sympathize with the immigrants sleeping on the floor and
Sure.
living in their own
Waste and everything?
Yeah.
That's totally different. I
It-
had a choice to either go in the military or go to Canada. My country. What am I running from my country for? You send you a letter, you go in the military, blah, blah, blah. Now, I used to tell a lot of guys when they first come there, 4 or 5 of them got off the chopper, I said, I'm going to tell you something right now. You all come here together, but you won't leave together. Get that in your mind.
Okay.
This is not a Boy Scout troop. These people carry real guns and bullets, and they're not trying to shoot you in the leg. They're trying to kill you.
Yeah. Yeah.
So the immigrants, it's a situation I see as they want to be here for a better living. Not all of them.
Well, I was going more about the conditions.
This down on the border.
Right.
Yeah,
Because that's a real another ball game. The politics is something else.
yeah, and that's the reason they're down there on the border. Leave these people alone. Okay, the Chinese had a thing in Hong Kong last couple of weeks ago about they didn't want to be taken to mainland China to go to courts and stuff, and the president said over the news the other day that to the Chinese that they're just looking for, how did he put it, freedom. Well, what do you think the ones on the border is trying to do?
Okay. Right.
They want freedom too, but the Chinese scolded Trump about what he said. This is our business. But you won't let the Mexicans in across the border, any of those immigrants. What you got? You know? Everybody wants to live pretty good, and this is the best place I've been, and I've been all around the world. Trust me, there's no place like the United States of America right now. You can eat, go in the grocery stores, plenty of food. A lot of countries, they ain't got nothing to eat.
Well, what do you think about, the administration telling people, if you don't like it here, leave?
His folks didn't leave. His grandparents didn't leave. We're all immigrants. We're from Africa. So they say.
We were brought here, though.
Yeah,
We were brought here.
yeah.
But everyone here immigrants except the Indians.
They were already here.
They were already here.
So we were told.
Well, yeah, well, someone was here, so it had to be the Indians, or maybe. Oh, yes, right, because I was told that the Africans were here before the Indians.
Yeah.
So that goes way back.
Yeah,
So we got, but we know that the ones running this country are immigrants.
Sure, the forefathers. Everybody came here like everybody else.
Right.
And then too, they fought the British to make sure this wouldn't be one of their colonies.
Okay.
And you thousands of miles across the pond, you're gonna come over here and tell me what to do. That's the same thing we're doing. The United States goes to other countries and try to tell them what to do.
Okay.
Yeah. As long as you send the money, they'll listen. Cut the money, they won't listen.
Amazing.
But
Okay. Oh boy, it's been a short time, and
always.
I try to always happy to have you come on the program, and as I had one minister tell his congregation, and I think Betty Thomas even mentioned, Mayor Betty Thomas, tell it like it is.
That's all you can do.
You know.
Why should I sit on your show and lie to the people that's watching? It wouldn't make sense. I'm an old man now. I used to be young once upon a time, but I stay in the old man's place. I go home, I stay out of the streets. Every time something happens, the children that are getting in trouble today are somebody's children. And I was always taught as a little boy, charity starts at home and spreads abroad. So if you didn't learn it at home, hard knocks gonna teach you rough.
Well, you mentioned about children, of course. Now, we have youngsters now, with the veterans. We got many problems, but PTSD is the specific one
Right.
we're talking about tonight. But what about the youth of today? How can they overcome their obstacles and issues that they're dealing with now?
I said to some people last year, and they didn't like it, I said that we've lost a generation of kids.
Okay.
Kids start having babies. Then they pawn them off on grandma. Let grandma raise my child. Then she come back, you got 2 or 3 more. You got to educate your mind. You got to educate your mind first. Everything you see, I wish I had that. Don't say that. It's not for you. Educate yourself, your mind, and always respect your family. No matter how bad they say your daddy is, he's still your daddy. And your mom is too. So if you got to be respectful, and it takes you a long ways. You should know that. You just didn't come in and open up a daycare center. They gave you holy.
Right.
I know.
Yeah, I don't talk about it very much, but problems we've had.
Yeah.
And in one specific one, I talk about all the time, the Small Business Administration is available when they're not here to compete with the local banks.
Right.
They give you loans if the banks don't have the money to give. Now, we got all the way to the point of getting the money from SBA, and they said, you have to give us one of the requirements, 3 letters of denial from the local banks. And we said, no problem. We went and got 3 letters of denial right quick. And you know what? One of the ones was our own bank, local bank. So I may look like I don't have issues and challenges, but different. And,
yes, I do.
And I'm sure our audience know that we have our resource center has been closed for 2 years. Now, all of the hundreds of thousands of youth that we have serviced, and we got lawyers, doctors, and come back and tell us how they have helped us.
Yeah.
Well, we have helped them, right? But we got a element there that will not give us support.
Yeah. Yeah, that's sad.
And it's it want to make me suffer from PTSD. That's one of the...
You probably got it too in a different form.
Right.
The struggles and
All
the
I went
things
through
you
it.
went through and trying to establish your business back in the early 70s. A lot of people don't know that.
We have the President of the United States, for the couple of minutes we got here, invited us to get a presidential medal for the work that we doing here. Right. Now, this is the President of the United States, right? We had Oprah Winfrey come down to our place.
Yes.
Where she gave $100,000 right on her show.
I remember.
Remember that, And we had Mark Kirk gave us, $700,000 2 years in a row for the Youth Bill program, this type of thing. So we have people from outside the establishment.
Right.
So why can't local people
Won't do it.
Is that much jealous and envy and so forth,
It is.
So if that don't drive a person to PhD in a different form,
got it.
I guess it's the same form, though. It's
It
the
is.
same thing, right?
It is.
But I'm not going to go in. But anyway, we had to break it down so our audience will know just what PTSD is. And if they want to know more, let's see, John Baer, Dr. John Baer at the Captain James A. Lovell Federal Health Care Center will be happy to have an audience to talk. And I mentioned before, he's been on the program several times. I'm going to invite him again to come back on the program to discuss the topic PTSD, post-traumatic
stress disorder.
Well, I want to thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. We've been talking with Mr. the Maestro, Charles Robertson, who is recovering, right? You're recovering from PTSD.
Right.
And I congratulate you reaching out to the VA for support. And I congratulate Dr. Baer for putting forth the effort to give you your support.
He's a great guy.
3 days a week, right? Ladies and gentlemen, we hope that you have benefited from viewing this program with Mr. Charles Robertson. He's retired now and recovering from PTSD and was happy to share his experiences with us. This has been Community Forum. My name is Dr. Waddell Brooks Sr., your host.